Hello and welcome to Gimmicky Tech, the series about underrated decks and their underrated tech. Except that statement isn't true. This time, we're talking about somewhat appreciated tech being forced into highly rated decks because we aren't talking about some old ass YuGiOh archetype this time. This time, that's the third time I said this time, fuck. I decided to expand my horizons and talk about another card game I like to play, Legends of Runeterra. Now, outside doing this video because I can promote it on the LoR's subreddit, yes, I am that selfish for self-promoting content. So, I thought it would be a nice change of pace for the series to talk about another card game for once. So instead of scrutinizing weird Dalton archetypes for being weird, we're going to be scrutinizing niche champions and their followers for being weird, with the subject of the video being Taliyah, the landmark duper. Since the topic of this video is on a different card game, I feel like we will have a different audience from my usual crowd. So I thought I might as well explain the format for newcomers to the channel. We will be discussing the history behind the cards, followed by a review of all the cards related to the champion, cards you can play to supplement the core set of cards, and then some deck builds you can try out as a jumping off point. Now, with the housekeeping out of the way, let's talk about the Empires of the Ascended expansion. Empires of the Ascended was LoR's third major expansion, which added Shurima as its ninth and newest region, and with it brought a bunch of interesting new mechanics. First, we have the new keywords reputation, something that would only really be seen with Sylvan and LeBlanc so far, and Predict, a mechanic that we will save for a possible video on Echo Zil, and was also pitiful on release because I had no dedicated champion for it yet. Slay, which I don't have much to say, and finally, Countdown landmarks. And to be frank, they weren't that exciting on release. This is my opinion, but the best landmarks were the ones with immediate proactive effects, like Empress Darius, or Sanctuary, or for those who are still reeling from Aphelios meta, Veiled Temple. Anyway, countdown landmarks were slower, so they wouldn't really see much play outside control focused decks, and this meant the champions who were playing around the gimmick was late game champions like Sandra, and then there was Taliyah. Taliyah didn't really fit into this due to the fact she felt more like a follower than an actual champion, a problem Darius knows a little too well. Her level 1 did really nothing on the board outside duplicating landmarks, and while her level 2 had a good payoff by letting her deal with blockers pretty well, but she still heavily relied on landmarks to even make that worthwhile using. Something they did thankfully change in the Rise of the Underworld expansion. Even with the change to her level 2 though, she felt more like a tech card than an actual champion, due to her effects on, to duplicate landmarks upon being played. She was more used to assist in helping Lysandra and their Malphite when he came out to help with their win cons, but she didn't see much play outside of that. I would like to say her photos had a better fate, but frankly, I wouldn't know, because I kind of slept for the first part, not coming back until like the tail end of the Guardians of the Asian expansion. Thanks to the new changes to level 2 Taliyah, which removed most of her dependency on landmarks, I feel like Taliyah is definitely more splashable now in decks, which is why I want to make this video. I want to give people more reasons to experiment with Taliyah and shine a light on some of her more promising followers and builds. So let's talk about the whole Taliyah package now. Going up in ascending mana costs, we got two burst speed spells to talk about, which is Shaped Stone and Stone Weaving, and I would like to say Stone Weaving is a 2-off and Shaped Stone is an optional 3-off. Starting with Stone Weaving, being able to create landmarks based on your mana for the cost of 1 mana is very good. My only gripe is it feels like the card is better being used with 1 to 4 spare mana left for it, since it means you're more reliably going to hit landmarks like Presbyterium and Ancient Preparations, stuff that will help with the consistency of the deck. When used with more unspent mana, you're going to be hitting more high-end landmarks, which aren't bad, but they aren't going to be contributing to the consistency of most of them, since most high-cost landmarks are focused on cementing your lead, then helping you catch up. unless it's Howling Abyss. 3 level 2 champions is very funny and worth building a deck around, but that's for another video. Maybe. As for running this at 2, you will be most likely be running 2 Taliyahs anyway, so if you already have a Taliyah on board, that spare Taliyah will just turn into a Stone Weaving, so that's technically 3 Stone Weavings anyway, so why run 4? As for stone shaping, I don't know why I voted that as shaped stone. Being a 3-1 buff, 1 mana burst speed is amazing, but it relies on you summoning a landmark first, which is easy enough, thankfully. But I also feel like this deck has more of a place in more aggressive strategies. In my opinion, a better alternative for this card is Skyring Sands for its, lose 2 attack effect and getting a free predict out of it, but this is a player by player choice here. Feel free to pick between either this or Shaped Stone. Moving into 2 mana cards, we have Hibernating Rock Bear and Rock Hopper, which has some choice words to say about. Not Rock Hopper. Rock Bear is the target of my ire, so let's cover Rock Hopper before I go on a tangent. Rock Hopper is actually quite good. It's a 3-1 body, so it helps with fearsome units and generates Rolling Sands, which is good for Taliyah level up, while also making your opponent be careful of their summons, as the next unit will be slapped with a vulnerable debuff. I recommend her at 3 for how much value she generates for Taliyah, but I think she only holds that much value in decks where Taliyah is one of the playmakers, or decks that benefit from Rolling Sands debuff, so just keep that in mind. So, Hibernating Rock Bear. I think it's not that good, and here's my thought process. It's 2 mana for a 5/4 vanilla in 3 turns. This would be okay, but we have Salt Spire, which for 2 extra mana, you get a 2-turn countdown and a buff to the strongest unit on the board if you summon 4 landmarks by the time the countdown is done. Salt Spire is bad because of this. My first reason why I think this is it's cheaper to slap out that Rock Bear on the same turn. So, if you want to summon Hibernating Rock Bear, the cost for Hibernating Rock Bear is 7 mana, because then you have to use Preservationist, which is, the weird giraffe thing, to get the 5/4 body. Salt Spire is 6 mana, since you can just use Clockling Curator or Time in a Bottle to get the 5/4 body. Yes, Hibernating play gives you a extra 4/4 body because you have to play Preservationist to get that effect. But Soul Spire not only buffs, but it's also cheaper on mana. Mana is a precious resource in this game, so obviously you would want to spend less of it if you could. Another excellent reason to run Salt Spire is tempo. Yes, really. I feel like I'm going to be misusing the term tempo here, but just keep with me. A very standard play I like to do is turn 4 summon Salt Spire, turn 5 dupe the landmark with Taliyah, and then turn 6 get a 2/5/4 body, and one of those rock bears are 9/8. To do this with Hibernating, I would have to summon Hibernating turn 3, so give up the buff, and let's be honest, there's bad things to be doing on turn 3. Of course, there's people who disagree with my logic, and I encourage those who to voice their opinion, really. I mean, if you don't agree with me, that's fine. I'm open about changing my mind. I can't believe I had to write that down to say that, but yeah, I'm open to changing my mind, and I'm sure others were willing to hear out on why you think I'm wrong on this opinion. But, anyway, run Salt Spire at 3, and Hibernating if you want to fill in space in your deck. As for our 3 mana options, we have Side Scout and Unraveled Earth, which are both acceptable cards, but could be better. Side Scout for a 2/4 body, which has Predict, which, is very decent, but if you pick a landmark for your Predict target, it gets Elusive, which is good. She's either a good block unit, or an alright elusive unit. I just wish she could get Elusive if one of the 3 cards you see in your prediction is a landmark, but, that would probably make her too good. As for Unraveled Earth, 3 mana for 2 Rolling Stones is a real good way to get a quick level up and a draw, but I haven't seen it get much play outside of Malphite variants. If you are going to play them, Side Scout is a 2 to 3 off if you want some more consistency through the predict mechanic, and Unraveled Earth is a 2 off. Since we've already talked about Salt Spire, we can talk about the other level 4 option, which is Desert Naturalist. And I like her at 2 for landmark removal. While she can turn any of your own landmarks into a rock bear, she can remove enemy landmarks, and I think that makes her a-okay if you play a secondary region with no landmark removal of its own. Personally, I think her stats are a bit underwhelming for a 4 mana, and there's cheaper options with more flexibility in regions like Targon, PNZ, and Noxus. Yes, summoning a rock bear off of one of your own landmarks is good, but there aren't many landmarks you would want to remove in a pinch for a rock bear. Most of the time, there's more value in keeping your landmarks than making another free body. Desert Naturalist is a good card, but there are better options depending on what regions you splash in with your Taliyah variants. Do I need to talk about Taliyah? I feel like I may explain what made her good by accident during the history part, but I'll repeat myself if you did skip through that part. Taliyah level 1 is only good for duping landmarks, which makes her a good tech option in decks like Lysandra and Malphite. Taliyah level 2 is, well, incredibly strong as it forces them to block with their big bodies or they're taking chip damage. Not blocking Taliyah is like guaranteed 10 damage, so it really forces them to block her, and that brings her damage down to a max of 4, which is still good considering you also made them lose a unit while blocking her. Her level up is also very easy to do since all you need to do is summon landmarks, and there's a lot of good cheap landmarks which we'll cover in the next part of my breakdown, which is the tech options segment. Taliyah is good at 2, but runner at 3 is, well, viable if you want to go all in on landmark generation stuff with stone weaving. For the tech options segment, I want to focus on in-region tech options, so all the cards from this segment will be from Shurima. For other cool tech options, I'll bring them up in their relevant builds in the deck building segment. Now, since Taliyah is streaming, Violet probably felt obligated to give the region good countdown landmarks, and there's 3 which I would consider in Taliyah variants, with 2 which I would say are mandatory for any Taliyah variant. So let's cover landmark options. First we have Ancient Preparations, which is alright for a 1 mana landmark to get the ball rolling. You get a Predict in a 2-2 body in like 2 turns. Because it's cheap, it can be a target for Desert Naturalists if you really want to throw out a rock bear. Next is Persitorium, which is mandatory for consistency during, well, seeing how cheap it is, and being able to dupe it is very nice. Inner Sanctum is a fun tech option, especially if you want to play Reputation Taliyah. Giving rock bears or even Taliyah keywords is very good, and since rock bears are 5/4 bodies, it's very easy to hit Reputation and make this a free landmark to throw out. Now, to talk about some interesting landmark generators, Imagine Possibilities, Vicurian Vagabond, and Akshan. We'll do the Akshan group second, so Imagine Possibilities, and while we're at it, the Clock Hand are my topics for this part. I wanted to talk about the clock down reduction cards, well, for a possible Zeal Echo video, since all of them are Zealian focused, but these 2 are the exception. Imagine Possibilities is incredibly flexible and useful if you don't mind letting RNG dictate your landmarks. I personally get more use out of it for the fact it's a 1 mana focus card that reduces countdown timers by 1, which is quite useful in a pinch. The Clock Hand is the same, but for 8 mana you're getting a 7/7 body and a, well, 2/0 cost focus cards, which either summon a random landmark with countdown for you, or advance any landmarks countdown by 4, which is quite worth the investment. Considering these cards, well, if you're playing a Taliyah deck with long cooldowns, or maybe in synergy with our next 2 cards. I honestly think Vagabond is the better tech option here, since Akshan, well, for Akshan to work as well, you kinda need to build the deck more around his landmark, Warlord's Palace. Vagabond can be a very interesting drop with Naturalists, since it's a disposable landmark for Rock Bear. If you want Akshan and Vagabond to work for you, at bare minimum, I would recommend running a Naturalist, which would make a very, well, for a very clunky combo, which I wouldn't consider outside of friendlies. Or alternatively, run Inner Sanctum so you can get the countdown to go down faster. Akshan has a better place in Reputation variants of Taliyah, so use him there at least. As for our last card, because I'm terrible at planning ahead when doing these sort of parts, Ancient Hourglass. Do I need to elaborate? It's like the super obvious gimmicky pick for any good Taliyah deck. Just in case you don't get it, which I highly doubt that is the case, here's some visuals for you. You cast a spell on champion, Taliyah dupes the landmark made by the spell, you get 2 of the champion next turn, and it's all for that super cheap cost of 7 mana and having 2 very specific cards where only one of them is searchable within the region. Fun in your homebrews for maximum cheese points. And, well, of course, there's more worth mentioning, but, like I said before, they're more in theme resilient, so we'll save it for that video. Now, with my in-region tech options done, let's talk decklists. So, a real quick disclaimer, the decks I'm going to present are not meant to be competitive, they are purely homebrew decks for you to mess around with in norms. Of course, you can bring them into ranked, but if you lose a lot, that's on you. Also, if you like these decks, I have taken the pleasure of uploading them onto Mobalytics, where you can find them on my profile. Which is what I wish I could say, but I've just been struggling with the website. I have never used it before, and for some reason, I can't make my decklist publics, even if I set them as, even if I make them from scratch. So yeah, if you know how to fix it, because I tried googling it for all my life and I couldn't find anything, please do comment below. But for now, the deck codes will be down below, properly labeled too. So if you want to try them out, they're there in the description. So my first deck list is my favourite deck list out of the 4 I'm going to be sharing, Celestial Taliyah. I don't really know how to describe the deck, but using the 4 options listed on Mobalytics, I'm going to call it mid-range, although it kind of reminds me more of tempo. The deck's goal is to get level 2 Taliyah and push for a win with the support of the invoked package. Zoe is there to help with early, and her level up is a good tool that re-pushes for the win, and the same with ASOL, but we plays early with late. It's not exactly the best deck list, but there's a lot of things you can add depending on, well, what kind of decks you find yourself fighting in norms. For example, you can replace Naturalists with Divergent Paths for, more flexibility. Start it Pete with Rockfall Path for a bit more removal instead of, getting invokes. And maybe add Fangs for some, sustain. I mean, the nerf did hurt him bad though, so I would rather take Crystal Ibex for a 4-drop with better stats, but it's your call though. I would recommend it if you want to have some fun with Celestial cards and is, looking for a version of Zoe that doesn't rely on Victor. My second pick is Taliyah Malphite, and I'm not gonna lie, I haven't touched this deck in like a few months, and there are definitely better deck lists for this combination of champions, so yeah. If you think this is bad, I implore you to find another deck list, because it will probably be better than whatever this garbage is. Moving on. My third deck list is Zero Echo Taliyah, or as I like to call it, Throw a Timeline. Taliyah, in this case, is more of a support card yet again, with the duping of landmarks and being able to push for game. Taliyah brings some much needed firepower to the Predict package, and while there's better options for her spot, such as Jinx and Vi, I feel like Taliyah has better pressure and is easier to level up. This is also a very generalized deck list with it, trying to do a bit of everything, and of course Naturalists can be swapped out for Aftershock for flexibility options. Of course it's weak because, Predict is weak as a playstyle, but it's still fun to play around with. My final pick for this list is my Akshan deck, which has a big focus on spamming Lucky Finds and Reputation. It's not exactly fine-tuned since I'm still playing around with it, but if you're looking for a version of Akshan that doesn't aggressively loop you and instead goes for a very aggressive mid-range approach, you can try this out. I do have one more Taliyah list, but it's not mine, so we'll end it here. Remember, all the deck lists I have shown will be listed down below if you want to try them out. Anyway, let's get to the conclusion. This is usually the part where I say nice things about the subject of the video, or at least pretend to say nice things about the subject of the video. I don't really have nice things to say though. While I love Taliyah, as I feel like they adapted Taliyah's playstyle perfectly, this also means they adapted her flaws as well. My opinion on LoR Taliyah is the same as their League counterparts. Fun, but hard to play effectively. Like, League Taliyah is fun, but for her to work at her max potential, you need to learn how to space out your weak and earth areas from your Q, learn effective E placements, and most importantly, appropriate usage of Stonewall. LoR Taliyah feels the same, but in a different way. If you get what I'm trying to say, you need to run enough landmarks to hit a level 2 consistency, while also making sure those landmarks actually benefit the deck you're playing, while also making sure you have enough room for other cards to help out your other champions you're running in that deck list. I don't mind the fact she's effectively landlocked into the landmark gimmick, but landmarks aren't very flexible, which means the same applies to Taliyah. Taliyah will probably never see any mere usage out of landmark focused decks, and good landmark based decks are, well, extremely rare. Hopefully, the Bandle City expansion will give people more reason to check out Taliyah by, well, dropping some interesting landmarks, or maybe a champion based on the gimmick. Now, I can't imagine another champion who could do landmarks justice unless it involves the handicapping of Ornn. Hey Ian, well, welcome to the end of the video. If you're new to the channel, because you probably are, you came in for the LoR video, not the YuGiOh videos. I normally do an off-script conclusion to just really just talk about my experience with the video and plans I have for future videos. So really, this Taliyah video should probably shouldn't have taken as long. I did say on Twitter I was going to be using Photoshop and Premiere for this video, but learning Premiere was probably what delayed this video because I just was doing it and it was just like having to stop every once in a while just to go like look what how to do something was just really slow down the pace of the video, and it came to the point where I didn't want to open up Premiere to work on the video because I knew it would just take a lot more effort. So I ended up just redoing the whole project again in Video Pad, and I will probably be doing so for most of my future videos. I think I will still probably learn Premiere at some point. It's just, for the sake of just making sure these videos come out fast enough, I'll just stick with Video Pad for now. And when I do bigger projects, maybe then learn Premiere, because then I'll have the time then. But yes, Taliyah, wow. I do feel like I did lose a bit of my point when I tried to, like, how do I put it? Give me a minute, I need to think of the word. Tried to, compare um, Legends of Runeterra Taliyah to League of Legends Taliyah, but I think you get my point if you understood what I was trying to say, that they both were, well, to use my own words, hard to play effectively. That's why I wanted to make this video. I wanted to kind of not prove, like, kind of disprove this stigma, but I don't think I did any of that. But I do hope this video did help you inspire to try out Taliyah. Anyway, as for future plans, there will be a YuGiOh video in the works now. It won't be a traditional Gimmicky Tech video though. It's more me trying to do more of a video essay on a set, pretty much a set analysis. And I have Ethan working on a part for that video. So I hope you're looking forward to the return of Ethan to the channel if you've been following the old podcast series. Apart from that, after that, I do have plans to do another form of video essay because I want to drift into doing video essays now. I won't be stopping doing Gimmicky Techs. I think I will never be able to stop talking about Gimmicky Techs because I do like researching these sort of videos and, you know, helping people learn decks they probably would not really play before. And this won't stop me from doing smaller videos. In fact, I should get around to making the thumbnail for another Grudge Match Club episode that I had filmed in months ago. So yeah, that will probably be coming out soon after this video, probably later in the week. But yeah, if you do like what I'm doing, please do subscribe, and hey, maybe even consider joining my Patreon. Once my Patreon page, yeah. I don't really do much on here right now. I really just post scripts and for my more inconsequential videos, I do let there be early access to those videos on here. But yeah, I do want to be able to make something off of this if it makes sense. It's just being able to, you know, reinvest the money into the channel so I can make better quality videos with hopefully better quality audio first, because this phaser headset is not exactly the best. But yeah, it's not really something I'll force you to. I mean, if anything, I'm more happy you just subscribe to me, and you can follow me on Twitter if you want. That's the thing. If you want to see me ramble about shit, yeah, that's about it. I don't know how to end this video, so thank you for watching this video on Taliyah. I do hope that all you Legends of Runeterra players do stick around. I do have plans to talk about more Legends of Runeterra at some point, but right now I'm just focused on doing more video essay focused topics moving forward. And as for the YuGiOh players, I hope you look forward to seeing that set analysis. You probably know what it is if you've been following the last couple of Gimmicky Techs, but yeah, thank you again for watching, and goodbye.